Hello everyone. UPSC Civil Services mains are approaching, and one of the pressing questions for you on how do you go about it for the mains. In the GS paper 1, a big dilemma for the students is, should we read world history or not? Okay, because if you see last 10 years trajectory of world history, the questions appearing in the mains examination from GS1 paper, we have a mixed trend. It is not that every year there have been questions from the world history segment, and it's also a bit confusing for many students that what we need to actually study for the world history, because the syllabus actually says significant events from the middle of the 18th century. Having said this, let me clear some air first. Should you read or you should not read? Because every minute you spend now on your preparation or writing practice is going to make a huge difference for you. So let us scientifically evaluate. First of all, UPSC examination is driven by current affairs. Now, what is the world scenario today? There are wars in West Asia, there are wars in Europe, right? Russia and Ukraine, and there are wars. There was a war, almost a war between India and Pakistan recently. So actually we are still trying to come to terms with what actually is happening in the geopolitical situation in the world, where it is going to lead us. Okay, if you see today's developments, G7 countries also condemned the Iran's plans for nuclear weapons, and everybody is rallying up behind Israel. So what is going to happen? Jordan has given its permission for Israel to allow the airspace, and Iran is talking about Pakistan might chip in by giving the nuclear weapons. Friends, remember, there is every possibility that questions will be picked up from the world history this year. Okay, and it is also true last year when we do have this Ukraine-Russia crisis going on. They have given a question in 2024 that how far it is correct to say that the First World War was fought essentially for the preservation of balance of power. 250 marks, 250 words and 15 marks. So this year definitely world history questions are likely, and it could cover the Cold War region, how Cold War came up from the Potsdam Conference in Germany from 1945 onwards, and we do have the Truman Doctrine, then Marshall Plan, right? So I want you to focus on world history this year, maybe next year also, those who are writing, because the relevance of world history is becoming increasingly felt in the day-to-day life of our understanding of the international relations and geopolitical realities. So what you should read? First point, never have any doubts that whether you should read world history or not. You will have to read. Friends, the risk of not attempting a question, say for 15 marks from the world history, is much higher than the risk of studying for world history before the mains, right? And UPSC is unpredictable public service commission. They can ask, sometimes they will ask, sometimes they may not ask. It is their choice, but it is our work to prepare. So point number 1, please do read world history. Don't neglect it. What will you read? As syllabus says, it is from the middle of the 18th century. The most important development that you need to see is the Industrial Revolution. On Industrial Revolution alone, you can expect 6 to 7 questions on what is the meaning and significance. Is it an ongoing affair? Now we talk about Industrial Revolution 4.0, right? Then why is it that Industrial Revolution first occurred in England? Why not in other countries of Europe? Of course, India is out of question, we recall any by that time, right? Then it is also possible that they would pick up the special aspects of industrial revolution, the causes, they might ask you how scientific and industrial innovations provided the backbone for industrial revolution. They also ask you a question on how industrial revolution spread outside England, beyond England, and of course the impact. Impact could be anything, it could be ideological, it could be social, it could be economic, it could be cultural, right? And friends, there is a new trend in examination in the recent years in the UPSC that they are mixing the world history with Indian history related aspects. Okay, I have been teaching from 98 onwards. Okay, so even from 2013 onwards, when we have the new pattern, initially writing about Indian history is a taboo in world history paper because they might think that we are filling the pages with Indian history information, but now the questions are getting entangled, the questions are getting interlinked. You need to study. I will give you an example. There is a question on industrial revolution in England. As I said, I will tell you. Okay, right? See, why did the industrial revolution first occur in England? Discuss the quality of life, quality of the life of the people during the industrialization, that is in England. Social and economic impacts you might have to write here. How does it compare with that in India at present times? What a beautiful question, right? So they have asked you to compare the industrialization days, that is first 100 years, let us say from 1750 to 1850, almost 1730 to 1850, and compare the situation between India and England, because India is now undergoing the phase of industrial revolution. Okay, so this is increasingly these are getting interlinked. So you might also would like to have this kind of questions, and you should be able to interlink Indian history. There is also a question on railways. Okay. Now see, this is 2018. Why indentured labor was taken by the British from India to their colonies? Have they been able to preserve their cultural identity over the years? 250 words, 50 marks, 2018. The first thing that should ring in your mind is, where are we connected? Getting to modern India. South Africa, right? South Africa, Gandhian experiments in South Africa. What are the cultural issues that India has faced? You need to build it up. The best thing is to apply your mind like a computer. Okay, like if you press search, how all the data will pull into this. That you need to understand, and it would automatically happen that you will be able to write the answer. Then the next important aspect is, you should also try to remember that revolutions are important anyway. You start with industrial revolution, then you proceed to study American Revolution, American War of Independence. Again, how migrations had happened from Britain to America and other areas from Europe to America. Then you also need to see how colonies developed, so much so that the economic clash of interest has happened with the English economy, England's economy and the Britain's economy or colonies. So growth, migrations, causes for migrations, growth of American colonies and the reasons for economic clash. American War of Independence or demand for independence is basically triggered by the economic aspects, right? Imagine Samuel Adams giving the slogan, no taxation without representation. Imagine the Boston Tea Party, how they resisted the dumping of tea, right? So this kind of questions, I do expect a separate question on issues like Boston Tea Party. Then the impact and significance, if we are talking about the modern world today, the 5 ideals you see, liberty, equality, fraternity from the French, and shortly before that we have secularism, democracy, Bill of Rights, which we call as fundamental rights. Let me tell you, my dear friends, these 6 ideals together are shaping the world geopolitical realities and governance systems now, right? They might ask you like that. The two revolutions have actually made an impact on how the course of world history has changed like that. Then you see rise of nationalism, Italian and German unifications, and after that there could be comparisons. The process is similar, right? In a way, how it is. What are the comparative aspects, and compare and contrast German unification and Italian unification with a special interest on the role of the people, whether it is Mazzini or whether it is Count Cavour or Garibaldi there, or Bismarck, Kutov and Bismarck here, like that they might ask some questions. Okay, then the world wars. Imagine if the rise of modern nationalism had first led to, if the rise of modern nationalism has first led to the unification of Italy and Germany, the transformation of nationalism into aggressive nationalism led to the First World War. William Kaiser, who had become the Emperor of Germany in 1871, after unification declared supremacy of the world or extermination. Either Germans should be the supreme in the world, or no problem, let us exterminate. If this kind of attitude is there, that was the backbone for the aggressive nationalism, Italy, Germany, and later you see Austria, how the First World War has happened. Now let us see this question. Okay, how far it is correct to say that First World War was fought essentially for the preservation of balance of power? It is very much correct, right? For example, Austria doesn't want the Balkan nationalism to come up because they don't want to create another country, a bigger country on their border, right? Russia wanted Serbia to, nurture nationalism so that it would have a counterbalance, right? So, if you see the dynamics between Austria, Russia, and the Balkan states, the whole thing is balance of power. Okay, and Germany supported Austria, and this became a threat to Russia. Okay, so the whole thing is about the balance of power. You need to write this answer with the causes. So First World War is asked. Then the consequences. Paris Treaty is very important. League of Nations. Okay, and the rise of dictatorships in the interwar period, fascism and Nazism. Get into the philosophical aspects. Hegelian theory, Hegelian theory of totalitarianism, how it was basis for fascism as well as Nazism, how fascism was an ad hoc philosophy because whatever Mussolini had said and done was fascism, whereas Nazism was more systematic. Hitler said after trying desperately to topple the government, he took the democratic route to become a dictator, right? So that is how you need to see this. And dictatorships, rise of dictatorships is also an important aspect you need to study. Then of course things causing to the Second World War. Then in between we have aspects like Atlantic Charter, which provided the basis for the United Nations organization. Of course, Cold War, decolonization, Suez Canal crisis of 1956. Then post decolonization developments like Arab nationalism, there have been questions on this. You also focus on concepts, they can ask on Marxism, they can ask on socialism. What is socialism, what is scientific socialism, what is communism? Is communism relevant today after the debacle of USSR, after the breakup of USSR in 1991? Do you think communism or Marxism is still relevant as a political ideology? This kind of questions you have to see. So friends, what I would like to say is that just see, there is a question on 2024 examination on the First World War. Then 2023 there is a question on railways, social and economic effects of the railways in different countries of the world. Of course, underdeveloped world, you have to link decolonization with the impact of the railways, right? Then this is again, see, 2021 World Wars. There is a question on World Wars. There is a serious challenge to the democratic state systems between the two world wars. That is, what is democratic challenge to the democratic state systems? Rise of fascism and Nazism. Okay, that you need to see. Then the American and French Revolution. I have already said this. I have already explained that these two are ideologically very, very important. Here, I want you to lay special focus on intellectual contribution. For example, we have Rousseau, we have Voltaire, right? We have great contribution from these philosophers. Montesquieu, separation of powers, right? So focus on intellectual contribution or ideas. You know, French Revolution is always said it's an equally a war of ideas or pen, like it's equally a war of sword, like that. You know. Then this I already told you. This is 2018. So see, between 2020 we don't have a question from the world history. 2022 we don't have a question. 2023 there was a question. 2024 there was a question, because if you see Ukraine war, when Ukraine war started, from then again we are starting getting questions on world history. Okay, so current developments are very much linked to the previous developments. We have the whole issue of Ukraine getting NATO membership, right? And of course, that is nothing but reviving, Warsaw and NATO things. So then 2019 there was a question, 18 there was a question, 17 decolonization, then 2016, 2015. Then 2015 we have two questions, I believe. Then this is 2014, 2014. So what do we say? 2020, except 2022, there are world history questions. 2023 there is a question. 2024 there is a question. 2025 there is going to be a question, most likely, given the development. And friends, write analytically, don't mug up facts. Try to get an analysis, keep a map before you when you read world history. Now, for example, today, if you are saying Iran, Israel, Jordan and other, Arab world, where are they located? You should be able to see that in your mind. Okay? So, like that you prepare and don't neglect world history. It is very, very important. It will also help you to get a fair deal of understanding in your polity and international relations, that is GS2 paper also. Okay? Thank you.